Cross right in, through to that back post, he found it, and it's in for Jose Martinez!
Big Jack ready, low shot, and he does score! It was within range, settled, block, shot, deflected, goal! 3-0 Union.
A look from high above at what will be a rocking scene once again this weekend. Subaru Park is set to play host to the first Union MLS action of 2023 on Saturday night. The boys in blue kicking things off this fresh new season against Columbus Crew. Hey everyone, it is a brand new season and welcome to the very first episode of Union Insider, our weekly deep dive into your favorite Major League Soccer club, the Philadelphia Union. I'm Marisa Pilla and with me are two Philly favorites, all-time leading goal scorer Sebastien Le Toux and 10-year MLS veteran who spent 6 years in blue and gold, Sheanon Williams. Gentlemen, welcome. So excited to be here with you across this entire season. And it's been a quick off season for the Union. As fans at home remember, maybe not fondly, last season ended with a loss in MLS Cup final. But the team is returning 11 starters this year. Seba, what are your expectations for the Union?
I mean, the expectation is try to win all those two big trophies they just missed by a little bit last year, and having most of the team coming back for a new season. It's not going to be easy because expectation from other team, trying to beat now the Philadelphian will be high. But I think they can do it, and hopefully they can get the MLS Cup this year.
Sheanon, they were so close, as Seba said, to two different trophies. A quick off season, only 108 days separate this weekend to MLS Cup final. What are the benefits to having a quick off season?
Definitely them bringing everybody back and having that continuity going into this upcoming season. You can definitely tell that their ambitions are high again this year and trying to win it, which is why they have brought so many players back into this season and trying to keep that continuity going forward as they move into trying to secure one of those trophies, whether it be Open Cup, MLS Cup. I think the team is definitely wanting to win some silverware this year and not come away empty-handed.
There's definitely a lot of silverware up for grabs this season for the Philadelphia Union. As mentioned, the core of this team has remained the same over the offseason. However, this is MLS, and there are always a few departures. Leaving the team were backup striker Corey Burke, midfielder Paxton Aronson followed his brother Brendan to Europe, and keeper Matt Freese was sent to NYCFC following the departure of Sean Johnson, who signed with Toronto FC. That's who they lost, but let's talk about who they've gained in the process. Joaquin Torres looks like Burke's replacement, but he can also add some depth at that number 10 position behind Daniel Gazdag. Andres Pereira has looked pretty lively this offseason, and Damian Lowe looks like a smart depth signing for the back line. Sheanon, what do these signings tell you about the team's priorities?
It shows that the team are looking to add depth with so many new games on the fixtures and so many games that they're going to have to use other players than just their starting 11. Hopefully these new players can come in and acclimate to the team and be ready to go from the opening day.
Seba, when we look at specifically some of these signings, Torres in particular, he's a player that likes to beat opponents off the dribble. Stylistically, what does that add for the Union?
He just had a different type of players than Corey Burke, putting in front. We all know that Corey Burke scored a lot of goals last year. He brings some physicality into the game. He was very strong, great finish, but having Torres kind of brings something else, maybe more like you say, somebody who can go 1v1 against a player, try to get the deadlock out of defense, who probably will drop a lot playing at the Subaru Park, but it's just kind of like a different player who can play different position and not just being the target on top where you ask him to kind of like battle with the center backs. And it's going to be interesting to see where he's going to play during the season, and with all the weapons we have offensively, it's going to be fun to watch.
It's always good to have different looks up top, and some people are even saying he's Ilsinho-like, so we'll see if that goes into effect. Let's go even bigger picture now. When you factor in the consistency of the roster, the additions they've made, and the fact that the Union have been steadily rising in terms of their postseason production over the last few years, Seba, how fair is it to say that this year is MLS Cup or bust?
I mean, it is just, I feel like for all the players who are coming back, they have kind of a chip in their shoulder. It's kind of like so tough when you're a player and you miss the shield by just, winning when you win at home and, missing the PKs in the MLS Cup. And it's hard. It's very tough. But I think the mentality in this team and coming back all together, they really want to get it. They have been so close in the past. 3 seasons have been amazing, bringing all those records. But I think just having the cup for the fans, they are all, a big desire to get it this year.
Sheanon, is it fair for this team to be touted as the favorites to go the distance?
I think so. especially if you look at what they've done over the past couple years, getting to the Eastern Conference Finals 2 years ago, getting to the finals last year and missing out on penalties. They want to run it back. They want the team to get that chance to get over the hump and to bring home that elusive trophy, that MLS Cup that the Union fans and the Union team want so badly.
It was so close yet so far, and as you said, running it back is easier said than done. And considering they're playing not only just MLS regular season, Open Cup, Leagues Cup, CONCACAF Champions League, how does a team manage expectations with such a hectic schedule?
I think it's just taking it one game at a time. I think that with all these games, like we said, there's going to be a lot of changes. Can they continue to have that continuity regardless of the changes, regardless of who's playing? Can the team really gel like they had in the past and really continue to keep the gears rolling and keep the team moving in the right direction?
Yes, and having all those change in the team, I think Ernst Steiner with kind of like which player he took to help this team to have all those games and kind of like have a good roster to help Jim Curtin make choices with all those games. I think it's going to be very important.
It's time now for our first team report presented by Green Mountain Energy. The Union came away from their preseason slate of games with a pretty impressive 4-1-2 record and bonus, no major injuries. Here's a look at the squad getting in some final preparations this week on the training fields down in Chester. Jim Curtin's men hoping to start things off the right way against Columbus. Here's what both he and the squad had to say ahead of week one.
I've been stressing to my players, you only get one home opener each year, so make the most of it and make it a memorable night. Like I said, it's going to be cold. The atmosphere will be electric, and we can't wait to be back in front of our home fans.
I think we've had a great preseason so far. We've worked on a lot of things, and we're just excited to get going. I mean, I just think, once the games start coming and all the action, we'll be ready for it. And we got a great group of guys, good locker room on and off the field. So I'm really looking forward to the season.
I think we prepared really well. I think you saw it in all the results, what we got down there. And now it's just the main focus shifts now to the first game, to the home opener. And I think we just have to prepare this to be good and to be ready for it.
Let's talk specifically now about this weekend's matchup against the Crew. There have been some big changes in Columbus. They said goodbye to head coach Caleb Porter and Lord Wilfred Nancy away from Montreal. Seba, what do the Union need to be ready for against Columbus?
I think they just need to be ready to play their own game. We see Columbus, with some changes, new coach who was very successful in Montreal, and we are all surprised to see him now being with Columbus. But I think his style of play might take a bit of time to get into the Columbus Crew roster, and I think they can really take advantage of this to really play at home in their style of play and get the first win.
Sheanon, up top, Cucho Hernandez, Lucas Zelarayan, a really good 1-2 punch for Columbus. How will they test the back line?
Just trying to pick up from where they left off last year. Those are two of Columbus's main top goal scorers for their team, and they'll look to be dangerous, especially in the early days when there's a lot of mistakes, especially in these early games. So they'll look to feed off some early mistakes maybe by the Union and try to get into the game that way.
Many people have Columbus finishing maybe even top 5 in the East this season. What are the benefits of playing a solid competitor week one?
Just getting the speed of the game and getting used to what the season's going to be like for this upcoming season. It's really important that you try to hit the ground running and try to get as many points as you can in these first couple games, especially with the games being at home as well.
Seba?
Yeah, I think the preseason was pretty good for the team. I think they really have a great chemistry between all of them, even with a new player coming in. And I think playing the first game at home, I think is huge to kind of start the season the right way and kind of make the 3 first points in a standing to then get the season rolling.
That'll do it for this week's First Team Report. We're going to step away, but when we return, we'll do a deep dive on the Union starting lineup and what position battles we're most looking forward to. That and more when Union Insider returns. Subaru Park was a fortress for the Union last season. The team didn't lose once there in 2022. In fact, they walked away winners in 14 of their 19 home matches. And they'll be hoping for similar results in this season's campaign. Welcome back to Union Insider. Sheanon Williams, Sebastien Le Toux. I'm Marisa Pilla. Since this is our first show, rather than keys to the game, fellas, I want keys to the season presented by Subaru. Both guys are picking out 2 things that will bring the team success this year. Seba, You're up first.
I mean, I go first with stay undefeated at home. I feel like it's a big part of the success, not just last season, but the past few years for the team to really come at Subaru Park and not giving any defeat and having so many points in a season. If you keep winning, you will for sure make the playoff. And then I feel like it just kind of bring a message to the league that when you come at Subaru Park, it's very hard to win. So I'm expecting to see more team maybe playing defensively this year. Having maybe like the team kind of like doing a bit differently offensively to get the goal, but it's such a hard place to play, and all the league now knows that if you come to Philadelphia, you need to pray to maybe get 1 point. And my second key, I think the thing is going to be very important is to manage the roster. I think with all the game we have this season, with the Champions League, the League Mexican coming in the summer, plus all the regular season, I think with all the group we have as a team, the starting 11, of course, very, very important group, but like coaching staff and Jim Curtin need to see which player can maybe come along and play more minutes to really help all those starters to get some rest, because it's a long season and we're going to need everybody to get the MLS Cup this year.
Sheanon, that kind of plays into your key for the success as well.
Absolutely. My first one is definitely to continue to develop the young players. Seba talked about all the games being added to the season. They're going to need a complete roster, and they're going to need to use that depth, whether it be injuries or fixtures in a week. It's definitely going to be important this year that you have a roster that you're able to go to in some of those moments when times are tough and when times are tough in terms of fixtures and how many you have in a week. My second one is definitely piggybacking off of Seba, is just staying strong at home. That's definitely something that they've been able to kind of form as one of their identities, as being a really good home team. That's also carried over to when they get into the playoffs, being able to play at home in front of their own fans, helping them to go on these longer runs into the playoffs and last year into MLS Cup.
The Union were the only club in the league last year to go undefeated at home last season. Obviously, you both agree on that will have to be the same heading into this season. But moving on to the following offseason additions of Andres Perea, Joaquin Torres, and Damian Lowe, Jim Curtin remarked about being more tactically flexible this year. Could that mean playing with 2 attacking 10s? Could that mean lining up with 3 in the back? Our bet, at least to start, is that the starting 11 on Saturday night will mirror the one that played LAFC in MLS Cup final. And Seba, why is that important?
I mean, it's important to have flexibility just for him, especially like having different players, adding to the roster. But I think too, for some teams, who are going to maybe come, in Subaru Park, especially, and give maybe a different defensive, lineup for the Union to kind of go through. Maybe it's better to play 3-5-2 with 3 in the back, 5 midfielder, and 3 forward with the number 10. But we saw they kind of start using it a little bit during the preseason in the games we are doing. So it gives, I think, more possibility to Jim Curtin to see first who is fit, who is the best player to play, and if he feel like he can get the best out of Torres instead of maybe a Carranza or Ura, he's not going to be worried to change. He can make the change and get the best result.
Options are always a good thing, especially when you're looking at the roster. Sheanon, are there any positional battles that are interesting you right now?
I think definitely the right back one with Harriel and Mbaizo. I think that was a good one last year. We'll see who starts up top. We know that the front 3 has been Gazdag along with Ua and Carranza. Does that change a little bit with some of the new players coming in, some of the younger players being developed and maybe having a good season this year? So looking for really what pieces fit where and what pieces are really going to be a big part of this new season to go along with the pieces that they know that they already have.
Yeah, and for me, I think it's in the midfield. We see like with Bedoya last year, being injured, and I think it comes the fact that, he's not 22 anymore, but we are going to need him in a very important game. But I think it's important to give him some rest, this year. So with Perea coming in the mix, you can see Flack and Martinez who can play, together as a center midfield, maybe 4 in the midfield, maybe 3. It just depends about, I think, who is fit, but the management, I think, from Jim Curtin will be very important.
Time will tell if Ernst Tanner has pulled off another offseason heist this winter, but it's clear who last year's was. We'll debut our player profile series by sitting down with striker Julian Carranza when Union Insider returns. We're back with our Nugget of the Week presented by Chick-fil-A. Before coming to the Union in a preseason trade last year, Julian Carranza only scored 3 goals in MLS. After arriving in Philly, he went on to score 14 goals, adding 9 assists in 31 games last year. Welcome back. Carranza's goals and partnership up top with Michael Ua were vital parts of the team's success last year. Carranza, now settled nicely into Philly, sat down with us and is this week's player profile presented by Subaru.
Cutting it back in front. Carranza goal. 1-0.
Well, when I was pretty young, I started playing soccer at 5 years old, 6 years old. In Argentina, it's something like that you do all the time in the street, and then with friends at the school, you play with a bottle, with a tennis ball, with whatever. When you're young, it's the dream of every single soccer player in the world to be a professional. But after, when you're growing up, and then you're taking the things more seriously, and then you see that you have abilities to become a soccer player, a professional soccer player. I think that's the moment when you start thinking that you can be one, that if you put effort, sacrifice, and then you believe in yourself, with time you will be a professional soccer player. When I was 14, I did a big change in my life. I went to play in another team far from my house, from my family, for everyone, and I think that was the point that I say, yeah, I can become a professional soccer player.
Made it to Elliott. Oh, the bicycle! Julian Carranza!
So far, I think it was last season was one of the best seasons for me, one of the best seasons for the club as well. And I think that everything that we lived last year, we were super close to do something super big for this institution and for me as well. But yeah, I think that was last season was the best season I ever had. Outside of soccer, yeah, I like to play tennis, I like to play paddle. I like just enjoying life, being at the beach, train. I like to go to the gym. So yeah, just basic things.
Carranza missed the penalty! No mistake that time! What a finish!
One more break to sneak in here, and when we return, it's back to this week's action. We'll set the stage for the Union's clash with the Crew on the other side. Last season, Major League Soccer embarked on an unprecedented journey, signing a 10-year rights deal with Apple TV. Earlier this month, MLS Season Pass was unveiled on Apple TV platform, and that's where you can catch every Union League match this season. You can watch on Apple Screen, Android, Smart TV, the works. Look at all those options on the screen. For more information or to sign up for Season Pass, visit tv.apple.com/sports. Welcome back. It's our final segment here on Union Insider. Seba and Sheanon back with me. Guys, we talked about Columbus a little bit early on. Wilfred Nancy, he was with Montreal last year. From what you saw out of that team, what kind of team can Columbus expect to become?
I think that they'll definitely start by trying to get organized and making sure that they understand what Wilfred Nancy is asking them to do from a tactical and a positional standpoint, and try to move in the direction that he wants them to go. Hopefully that'll have some success for them as they've had in past years, and get them back into that playoff.
Seba?
Yeah, and I think for me, especially like the first game, for them away at the Union, who makes the final, I think they're going to try the best to defend, as a block, and maybe try to counter-attack, with Cucho Hernandez, who is very, very quick. So we need to just be careful of him, running in the back when they have opportunity to kind of break in breaks away. But other than that, I feel like their possession might not be as clean as it could be, alongside during the season. So I think for the Union, it's important to kind of like put pressure on them right away, make them notice that you are at Subaru Park and you are here for a fight, and maybe get a quick goal so they don't get confident in the way they want to play.
Nancy was a fan of back three at Montreal. Given Columbus's roster, do you see that being something he implements here?
Mostly when you play a back three, it's because of personnel. So we'll see if he feels like he has the personnel to play it. Definitely thought that in Montreal, that was definitely his favorite system. So most of the time you see it brought over, but always the matchups don't work out that way. But I expect them to be in a back three. We'll see if it's anything different when then they line up on Saturday.
And it could be just because we saw during the off-season that they traded Jonathan Mensah to Vancouver, who was kind of like the captain center back of this team for a long time. So not having him in their team right now might be a change for them of formation. So it could be a possibility on Saturday.
Given what you saw out of the Union in preseason, what you expect to see out of Columbus, how do you see this one playing out, Sheanon?
I expect the Union to start hot. I watched their preseason and what they were able to do in the preseason, and looked like they were just kind of continuing on right from where they left off in MLS Cup, scoring goals, being good in the back. I expect them, like we said, with the continuity that they're bringing back, to be a lot of the same. A year ahead now, a lot of these players are even more familiar. We might even see, hopefully, more goals than we saw last season, and that's definitely something that I look forward to as we move into this new Union season.
Yeah, a lot of positive, I think, can happen. The only thing for me as a player, and Sheanon being here, especially as a striker, when you had a great season and you score so many goals like all of them did, you come into the new one and you know the expectation. So the goal for them is to try to not put as much pressure on themselves, which is easier to say than done, but then to play the same way and not, try to feel like they have to score 20 goals after 10 games. It's going to come, but I think it's the same way of playing, together with the same chemistry will show, their talent on the field and the goals, for the Union.
The Union are definitely looking to get off to a hot start this weekend. That's going to do it for us. You can catch our show every Thursday night ahead of that weekend's Union action. For Seba and Sheanon, I'm Marisa Pilla. Thanks so much for watching.